What if I told you that underdogs of 6+ points this season were 16-2-1 against the spread and 11-8 straight up, and that we've got 4 more of them on tap for week 6? So sit down, buckle up. These are your picks for every game. Yo, Dave Loughran here. Hey, before we get started, weekly reminder that if you're in any of these states on the screen and you're still not on Bet365 yet, well, you haven't collected $200 in bonus bets for simply betting $5 on whatever you want. I mean, literally, you could go into this Bills-Jets game on Monday night and bet a live drive to kick a field goal. Whether you win or not, the moment that drive is over, you have 200 in bonus bets. It's that simple. I'm not saying I'd recommend that, but it's that easy. Not to mention, every Thursday night, when you bet a 3+ leg same game parlay, they're giving you $10 in bonus bets per every touchdown scored. I had $70 in bonus bets in my account from one single Thursday night game in that massive Bucs-Falcons shootout. So if you're not there, here's what you do. Click the link in the description or the one in the pinned comment. Head over to Bet365. Takes 2 seconds to auto-verify yourself. Deposit 10 and only bet 5 on whatever it is you want. The moment that bet settles, no matter what, you got 200 in bonus bets, and take advantage of their promos. Just in the last week, from Thursday and Sunday, I got $95 in bonus bets for betting spots that I was already going to bet. And that's not including the 200 in bonus bets you grab anyway. So link in the description, pin comment over on Bet365. Get on as many books as possible. Make the sharp bets, shop the odds. 21 years or older to gamble. If you have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's talk football. All right, let's kick it off with Thursday night football. The San Francisco 49ers laying 3.5 on the road against Seattle. Both teams coming off bad losses. Both teams huge favorites last week. Both teams lost at home. 47.5 point total in a game where the offenses have been, it's funny because they haven't been bad, but they haven't been good in clutch situations, and we've seen that. And I really wanted to grab Seattle at 3.5, but the defensive injuries could be a real problem. And also, it goes a little deeper than that. Geno Smith has really struggled against the 49ers. He's 0-4 since becoming the starter, one of them a playoff game, 3 in the regular season. And they've been outscored 120-56 in those games. The Seahawks have lost those games with Geno Smith starting 18, 20, and 8. And look, this isn't the end-all be-all, obviously, and the Niners certainly don't look right this season either. Maybe it's McCaffrey's absence, maybe it's that and something else. But another bad game and another loss to a divisional opponent, mind you, they already lost to the Rams and the Cardinals. It would spell pretty bad things going forward, especially if McCaffrey continues to sit. Also, Seattle's wins this season, here's why I lean San Francisco. Seattle's wins this season have come against Denver in Bo Nix's first start in Seattle, New England, which went to overtime, and Miami without Tua Tagovailoa. Which, I mean, they might be the worst offense in football right now. And Geno's been pressured the second most of any quarterback in the league. I'll have a full video on this Thursday. We're going to break everything down. Thursday morning and Monday morning, I have those Island game videos. So make sure to come back for that one. It's Tuesday right now. Both teams have injuries on both sides of the ball, and we don't have a ton of updates to get the best read yet. But I don't see this line moving much, so you can come back to it. Right now, though, I am leaning San Francisco -3.5 in Seattle. Jaguars, Bears. Bears laying 2 points here, 2.5 in some spots. 44.5 point total. Okay, well, this game's in London. The Jags are back in London, and they'll play back-to-back games there for the second time in 2 years. Trevor Lawrence is 3-1 in London, career. And he's also the only rookie quarterback to ever win there. Granted, it's not like there's been 100 of them, but aside from Lawrence, rookies are 0-5 in London. And Jacksonville's coming off a much-needed win against the Colts. And despite their 0-4 start, I know this defense is not good, they are still a better team than the record would indicate, so long as Lawrence is semi-competent like he was against Indianapolis last week. Look, I like the familiarity here. I do, for the Jags team that's going up against a rookie quarterback in Caleb Williams and a questionably coached Bears team. Now, I see it. Caleb Williams, week over week, is getting a lot better. This offense is starting to run the ball. Also, you're coming off a win against Carolina. That defense is just pathetic. So is Jacksonville, though. So who am I to say? But also, Jaquan Brisker didn't travel with the team. Questionable with a concussion. I highly doubt he plays, given his history with concussions. You could grab the Jags inside of a field goal at 2.5. But I threw a unit on the Jags money line at +120. I like that they're in London again. This is going to be Lawrence's 5th game there. This is like home away from home. So while technically the Bears are are the home team. Sure feels like Jacksonville is. Cutting a little bit of momentum coming off that win, off the schneid after starting the season 0-4. Give me Jags money line, plus 120. And as I talk about shopping odds here, the best odds clearly on BetMGM, plus 120 if you're going to bet this. Browns at the Eagles. Eagles laying 9.5 here, 43.5 point total. You can find an 8.5 out there if you like the birds in this game. But I mentioned it at the top. Dogs of 6 or more points this year, 16-2-1 against the spread, 11-8 straight up. This will be a recurring theme throughout this video for sure. I mean, what an insane number. 6+ point. They're not just covering every game against the spread. They're above 500 straight up. They're 11-8. It's nuts. There's no way this is sustainable. There's no way it continues. But I mean, how do you bet against those trends right now? You could say the same thing. How could you bet against the Thursday Night Football unders last season? And then once people started catching on, all of the totals started going over on Thursday. So I get that. But this is honestly what it comes down to for me. I don't have any faith in the Eagles right now. Now, I have equally as little faith in the Browns. What a disgusting display of football last week and many weeks all year. Maybe less than the Eagles. But this is a 9.5 point spread. I expect Jack Conklin to be back for Cleveland too. He got some practice reps in last week, but the Browns just keep suffering more injuries on the offensive line anyway. Either way, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith expected back. I still don't know how we lay 9.5 on the Eagles. Like last season when we did this video towards the end of the year, we were just betting against the Eagles every game because they were huge favorites. I still remember it against Arizona. They lost outright. We bet against the Eagles. Huge favorites against the Giants. They lost outright. You know, when's the last time they've gotten a convincing win where they just run away with the game? They haven't. So how am I supposed to lay almost double digits? Granted, it's inside of the key number of 10, but how am I supposed to lay 9.5 on the Eagles? I can't do it right now. Plus, these big dogs are covering at an alarming rate. And all of these can't miss spots for favorites end up not only being against the spread losses, but outright winners for the underdog. Give me the Browns plus 9.5, as ugly as it seems. That is a ton of points when the Eagles have shown us nothing all year. Commanders at Ravens. Another big spread. 52.5 point total. Ravens 6.5 point favorites at home. How about this? Lamar Jackson is 21-1 as a starter against NFC teams. 21-1. His only loss, I don't know if you guys remember this game, I remember it vividly, was against the Giants 2 years ago when he got picked off late in the fourth quarter and then a sack fumble to end the game. And they lost that game. They never should have lost that game. But remember, the Giants were also on this like sun run style of play where they couldn't lose. They were huge dogs, and it was some type of record for like dogs covering the spread in however many games. Then they went on to the playoffs, got a win against the fraudulent Vikings at the time, and then Philly just mopped them in the divisional round. But it's funny because either way, Lamar Jackson has been virtually unbeatable against NFC teams. Then on the other side, though, like you want to talk about, okay, teams that just seem like destiny right now, like that 2022 Giants team that knocked off Lamar Jackson before ultimately flaming out. Is there any hotter team right now than the Washington Commanders? Jalen Daniels has been amazing. This Commanders team's flying higher than any team in the league right now. You know, I don't care if the Chiefs haven't lost the game. That's been some grit and grind type wins, not just running away with them. Betting against the Commanders right now feels dumb, even though I was dumb enough to do it last week. This is by far the stiffest test yet for them. No question, right? Like, no doubt about it. But I honestly think you either use Baltimore in a 6-point teaser here and go, hey, Lamar wins these games 21-1. Like, he's 21-1. So use Baltimore as a teaser piece, although I'm hesitant to do that because of how many people have gotten burned badly on these 6-point teasers. Like they get it down to a pick 'em, get it down to a half a point favorites, and then they just lose outright. It's happening every week. But it is different with Lamar because he's 21-1 against NFC teams. So I'd either tease it down or honestly, I'd bet Washington to cover at 6.5. Look, I'm not betting the Ravens at 6.5 point favorites. Lamar is a big favorite. I don't care if it's against an NFC team. I'm just uncomfortable with that, with the way Jaden Daniels and the Commanders have played. And the Ravens defense right now has a lot of holes. No team has allowed more 20-plus yard passing plays. We saw last week they were gashed downfield by Joe Burrow. Certainly not betting the Commanders' money line, but I think the plus 6.5 is in play. So either Baltimore, I know it sounds like I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth, but I'm not. Just not betting Baltimore to cover. I'm not betting Washington to win. but I think they could cover at 6.5. And I think if you like the Baltimore teaser, get it down to half a point at 6 points. I get that too. Texans at the Patriots. Texans laying 7 on the road. Here's another one. 6+ points. 37.5 point total. It sounds like the Texans are going to be without Nico Collins. He's week to week now, which means likely not playing this week. Huge blow to their offense. And Joe Mixon, he seems like he's in jeopardy of missing yet another game. And I don't know what to make of the Texans this year. They're 4-1, but it feels like they shouldn't be. I think we can all agree on that. I want to honestly back the Patriots. Well, I don't want to back the Patriots. The trends and everything else tells me I should back the Patriots. But I think the better play is to take the under 37.5. The Texans managed only 9 points after Collins went down late in the first quarter on a 67-yard touchdown reception. And they won't be the same without him. They clearly didn't look the same without him, especially if the run game remains stagnant with Joe Mixon out. And New England can't throw the football. Their offensive line is injured. Their offensive line is terrible. And Jacoby Brissett's been pressured at a higher rate than literally any quarterback in football. Even if they play Drake May, do you think that's going to help? Jacoby Brissett is at least semi-mobile. I don't think a shift to Drake helps here if they start him. I would lean Pats +7, but I would really want the under 37.5 here. You know, even if you're getting a 21 or say, you could see like a 24-10 game play out and you'd be under. Give me under 37.5 between Houston and New England. Cardinals at Packers. Packers laying 5 points, 49.5 point total. I don't have a read for this game, a good read on this, outside of the fact that Arizona is coming off a huge upset win in San Francisco. Now they have to travel to Lambeau to take on the Packers. We backed Arizona last week, spread, not the money line. But I don't think I'm going back there this week. The defense still isn't good, although they have outperformed expectations. And Green Bay, sure, they could have easily lost that game against LA. I was hoping they did because I had the Rams spread from this video. But these are two teams I just haven't been able to figure out for the most part. I've got them right a couple of times this year, got them wrong a couple of times. In the end, though, I still think the Packers are a significantly more talented team on the defensive side of the ball. Matt LaFleur has been excellent at home at Lambeau since 2019 when he took over as head coach for the Packers. And they'll catch a Cardinals team that's coming off a big-time emotional win in San Francisco. I would lean Packers -5 in this one. Colts, Titans. Colts 1 point favorites, 43 point total here. Look, if Joe Flacco's under center again, I'll take the Colts. We don't know, though. I trust him way more right now to move the football. I think you guys probably do, too. Anthony Richardson's still a massive work in progress. And also just a turnover machine. The Titans could be starting either Will Levis or Mason Rudolph, too. So, like, neither are very inspiring options. I think Tennessee finds a way to move the ball in this game just as much as Indy does, though. And with question marks surrounding both quarterbacks, I'd rather go back to the well on a bet that's been really good to us over the last couple of weeks. Colts overs, right? We bet the over last week in Jacksonville. It's smashed. We bet the over 2 weeks ago in Pittsburgh, and it's smashed. Indy's defense has been terrible. Oh my God, they're lifeless. They've showed no signs of improvement either. And while Tennessee's offensive struggles have been well documented, it's not like they don't have any weapons. Ridley and Hopkins are still perfectly fine. Tony Pollard looked great the other week before the bye. Against this Colts team, I think they moved the ball. Either way, you can still get this one at 42.5 on BetMGM, and that's what I'm going to do. Give me over 42.5 in this game. Let's see some scoring. Bucks at the Saints, 42.5 point total. Bucks are 2.5 point favorites. This one swung after Monday with the Derek Carr oblique injury, and then him just looking terrible against the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football. I don't see him playing this week on short rest. And if that's the case, we're going to see Jake Haener likely under center for New Orleans. Even if Carr does play, it appears as though defenses have kind of figured out this offense that Clint Kubiak's running. I'm not saying that it's bad or that he's not good, but the first 2 weeks, Carolina and then Dallas, then they smoked them. Then you get some tape, and Philly completely shut them down. The Chiefs shut them down. Atlanta didn't shut them down, but Atlanta still got the win. The problem, too, is that the Saints' offensive line is banged up, and that's a big deal. You know, missing McCoy is huge. We saw it against the Chiefs, a lot of pressure. They just brought a ton of pressure, forced Derek Carr into some bad passes and some good ones that should have been caught. But the Bucs were 2.5 point dogs. Now they're 2 point favorites with the Carr injury. This has actually moved to 2.5 as I did this video. And I like Tampa here still. This team's playing good football. They can stop the run, stick Vita Vea in the middle and try and run on that fella up the middle. If you stuff Alvin Kamara and limit his production, you're going to have a much easier time against Derek Carr and company. And I think that's what Tampa's able to do, even though they are a pass funnel defense. Pretty decent matchup for them. Give me Bucks -2.5. Steelers -3 at the Raiders. All right, well, Steelers are 3-point favorites, 36.5 point total. I wanted to bet the Steelers here, but I can't. And the reason is Russell Wilson's set to be a full participant in practice, and he's possibly going to start. And there's just no chance I'm betting Wilson as a 3-point road favorite. It's just not happening. You know, even Fields in this spot, I'd feel okay about, better than Wilson. But, and I think the Ravens are dysfunctional right now. That's why we bet against them last week with the Broncos, and it worked out really well for us. But they're also 3-point dogs at home against the Steelers team that can't generate anything on offense. And what have we seen from Russell Wilson? What have we seen from Russell Wilson? We haven't seen any. I'm just not playing Russell Wilson here as a 3-point favorite. I'm staying away from this game right now. I would lean Raiders +3 for all of the reasons mentioned above. But let's stick around and see what happens with the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh first. Chargers, Broncos. Chargers laying 3 at the Broncos, 35.5 point total. Okay, so Chargers -3 on the road against the Broncos team that's on a 3-game win streak. Seems odd, right? Seems a little odd. The Chargers are coming off a bye week, so you give Justin Herbert a little bit of time to get better. I don't think he'll be perfect, but I think he'll be a lot better. Joe Alt appears to be good, which is huge for that offensive line. You know, we liked the Broncos last week, divisional spot, short home favorites. Like I said, because of that Raiders spot, it just seemed like a bad spot for the Raiders. But I'm really thinking about fading them this week. And normally, what do you mean? 3-game win streak, home dogs? The Chargers defense has just played really well, even without Joey Bosa last week. Bo Nix got wins against a banged-up Bucs defense, a terrible Raiders defense, and not to mention that the Raiders, the spot they were in, it just didn't look good. And the Jets game, he did absolutely nothing to win that game on his own. He threw for 60 yards. Against good defenses, he was terrible. Vance Joseph, give him credit, right? He is running this defense really well and getting a lot out of guys that most coaches wouldn't. But this is just the type of game, to me, that Jim Harbaugh wins. I'll take Justin Herbert and I'll take the Chargers run game over Denver and the rookie quarterback here. It's -3, but man, I'd love to see it move to 2.5. I'm going to wait on this one because I don't think it moves past 3. But if this moves to 2.5, this will be a spot I'll really like the Chargers. Falcons, Panthers. Falcons 6-point favorites, 47.5 point total. Let me just say now, there may be some laddering opportunities in our future for the Falcons this week. Now, if you ever want to tail my picks, we've hit some monsters this season. Okay, we hit a 5-player touchdown round robin. It was a 5-leg parlay. We bet it by 2s, 3s, 4s, and the parlay and all singles for a massive win in week 2. We've hit some massive ladder plays. We were all over the Ramondre Stevenson spot last week, laddered Garrett Wilson and hit that with his 20+ targets all of last week. If you ever want to join me over in Tails and in the premium Discord, use the promo code NFL24 when you sign up. You'll get first week less than $5 or your first month for less than 15. And if you hate it, wash your hands clean. See you later, but I think you're going to love it. We have an awesome community that we're building over there, and you're getting in at less than $5 or $15 for the week or month. Link is in the description for that and in the pinned comment. Click it, use NFL24. And hey, when you download the OddsShopper app and set up your account, make sure to turn notifications on because all of my bets will come straight to your phone on push. And also in the Discord as well. Say what's up. NFL24, 50% off your first week or month. What I'm saying, though, is I think we got to see what happens when they come out, but I think we could have some great opportunities to buy low on the Falcons. That's what we've been doing all season, buying low on guys. We did it with Pickens, laddered that up to 110. We hit it. Did it with Cortland Sutton. That did not work. It's not always going to work. And I'm transparent with you guys. That did not work. If you told me that they were going to score 34 points, 34, like I think I read that game perfectly from a game flow perspective. 34 points and Cortland Sutton is a ghost, and Josh Reynolds and Jalen McLaughlin are getting touchdowns, and Bo Nix is rushing one in. That would suck. But anyway, we bought low on a lot of spots. Garrett Wilson last week, Stevenson, and it has worked out well. This might be a great buy low for some of these Falcons players. But I'll tell you, laying 6 on the road is wild against any team for this Falcons team, because they just always find ways to make sure games are insanely close at the end. Like 1 possession loss to Pittsburgh, last minute 1-point win over Philly, 1 possession loss to the Chiefs, 2-point win over New Orleans, then an overtime win last week against the Bucs where Kirk Cousins went nuts for 509 yards. The Panthers are a divisional home dog of 6 points. The problem, they're just awful. And this defense is mangled. That's another issue. Like, they don't have the personnel. I totally understand why you'd want to lay 6 on Atlanta here, but I'm not going there. I'm going back to something we talked about with the Colts the past couple of weeks, the over. And we've gone with this on the Panthers as well. They can't stop anybody, but they pass block really well. And Atlanta has no pass rush. They have 5 sacks on the season and a low pressure rate. They're at home. They should at least put points on the board with Dalton at the helm. He is starting this week. And Atlanta's pass rush is bad. So we've bet the over in 2 of the last 3 weeks with Carolina. We hit on both of them. They're 4-1 to the over this season. Let's go over 47.5 here and play for the shootout. Lions at Cowboys. All right, let's go. Lions are 3-point favorites, 52.5-point total. What a game. The Lions can run the ball as well as any team in the league, and the Cowboys can stop the run about as bad as any team in the league. They've been better over the last 2 weeks. Give them credit, but that's the Steelers and the Giants you're talking about here. Not Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery and an elite blocking offensive line. They're also without Lawrence. They're going to be without Micah Parsons, it seems. And on the other side, Dallas has no run game to speak of. And while they kind of got on track against Pittsburgh, Dowdle had, like 20 for 88 or something, 4.3 yards per carry. Now they have to face a Lions squad that can force Dallas into a one-dimensional offense because, unlike the Steelers, Lions can actually put points on the board. And the battle in the trenches should be interesting here too, because Dallas has actually pass blocked well. And Dak has only been pressured on 27% of his dropbacks, but also Detroit has an excellent pass rush. Ultimately, it feels like an uphill battle for Dallas, coming off a big win in Pittsburgh. We bet them last week. We bet them. We went against the grain there, bet Dallas. But without all of these guys on defense, without Brandon Cooks, not to say he's a big-time player. They still have Tolbert. They still have Turpin that maybe they can get involved. Ferguson, obviously CeeDee Lamb. But this is a rough spot, uphill battle. Plus the Lions are coming off of a bye. Give me Lions -3 here on the road. Bengals laying 3.5 against the Giants, 49-point total. Joe Burrow's been so good this year. I mean, like top of the league good. But his defense is an utter abomination. And they've been a top 3 offense. They've been a top 3 offense, even including week 1. Where they were terrible. They're still ranked as a top 3 offense. Bottom 3 defense, though. It's that simple. I can't see them falling to 1-5, but this defense is going to do everything in their power to make sure they do. And the Giants should get Malik Neighbors back, which is huge. A huge boon to the offense. I mean, I can't imagine he doesn't return here. But they've also been better than advertised on defense. A strong pass rush and much better play from their secondary than expected. That's what surprises me the most, not the defensive line. Burrow literally can't. The guy can't do more than what he's done over the last 4 weeks. He's not the reason they're losing games, but until the defense can show that they can get some stops, some semblance of competence, how are we betting them at north of a field goal favorites on the road? We got to go Giants just on principle, +3.5 here. And I'm guessing this one moves to +3 sooner than later. We close out the week with Bills and Jets. Bills 2-point favorites, 41-point total. What a fascinating Monday Night Football game we get for week 6, man. Josh Allen was clearly concussed against Houston, but the Bills coaching staff threw him some smelling salt and said, get your ass back out there. Then some egregious coaching decisions by Sean McDermott ended up costing Buffalo the game. Meanwhile, in East Rutherford, the Jets fired Robert Saleh off after 5 weeks into the season. I guess this is truly Aaron Rodgers' team now. But this offense has just been so inefficient regardless. I mean, they aren't on the same page. Nothing is clicking. I suppose you could look at this game as one of those post-head coach firing bounce backs before everything falls apart. But I don't see it. Allen has never lost 3 straight games in his career. And the fact that you can actually run on this Jets defense just puts him in a really nice position. But ultimately, this is a huge divisional game for both the Bills and the Jets. And there's a lot of question marks on both sides of this one. Still, I'm going Allen here, coming off of 2 straight losses. Give me Bills inside of a field goal, -2 in East Rutherford against the Jets for Monday night. And as always, I'll have a video for this one with some updates, with some great player props, and we'll close out the week with that. Appreciate you guys hanging out as always. Hey, if you didn't do so yet, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Always want to see your favorite picks, read and respond to all of them, and we'll catch you back here for the next one. Peace.